something about climate.
Welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 16th day of January 2024. And welcome to our show today. We're going to get right at it because there's just so much to talk about. And welcoming me, my first guest on, Mr. Tater for Tatar Tuesday. How you doing, John?
I'm doing very well. Trying to stay warm.
What's the reading this morning?
Over here it was 6.
Yeah, I think we're about the same. So a little cold here today in Michigan, everyone, just so you know.
Global warming.
That's what it is. In a moment. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. They're just going to start this thing right off with a bang. That's right.
That's
right. Arguing with everybody's stupidity out there. I put a meme out this morning on critical race theory. And I'll bring that up in a little bit. But what's the song for today, Mr. Tater?
Are we ready?
We are always ready.
This is probably very apropos for today.
Okay.
They're rioting in Germany. Their protests in Greece. There's earthquakes in Bolivia. While the people are fleeced. The whole world is festering with unhappy souls. Israelis hate Palestine while the Democrats rig the polls. The Russians hate Ukrainians. South Africans hate the Dutch. And I don't like anybody very much. But we can be tranquil and thankful and proud, for Korea's been endowed with the mushroom-shaped cloud. And we know for certain that some lovely day the deep state will set the spark off and we will all be blown away. They're rioting in Romania. There's bombs in Iran. The bombs in Iran. What nature doesn't do to us will be done by our fellow man.
Oh, the happiness that we bring with BNN in the morning. At least it's kind of truthful. So there you go.
Well, I did do some adjusting of the words from the old minuet. Because the old minuet by the Kingston Trio was good, but it was dated.
Well, we're going to talk about lots of things today, including the political parties and some of the nonsense going on. And in a poll, this was a post by Connie Koa that it's 43% of Americans identify as independent right now, tying the record set in 2014. I've heard it's higher. I've heard it's in the 60s, like 62. As unaffiliated voters is 62. So that's just like everybody, sick of it. 27% as Democrats, 27% as Republicans. Why is there growing sentiment among Americans that the two-party system no longer adequately represents them? Both parties started 7 wars in the Middle East, passed the Patriot Act, weaponized intelligence agencies against American citizens, created the surveillance state, exported manufacturing overseas, printed trillions, leading to a $34 trillion in national debt, provided bailouts to Wall Street, and in the process, crushed the middle class with inflation and stagnant wages. The rising cost of housing, healthcare, and education, primarily caused by establishment Republicans and Democrats, are the root cause of populism. Americans identify as independents and the destruction of the American dream. Thought that it was fairly well written.
Good article.
Right on. I like what Nicola writes. He's I think he does a good job. So, yep. So, and we've got this whole goat rodeo, not only in the Board of Elections, but the Republican Party right now. And it is deeply concerning to me on many levels. And I don't, most of my heroes are dead. All right. I don't look for heroes or personalities anymore. I look for information. And that's why I get dinged so much for talking to everybody. It's like, oh, you talk to this person, you talk to that. Yeah, I talk to everybody. Listen for information. Let it sift out a little bit, because you're gonna have information that's gonna come forward, and via the sifting process, you're gonna be able to really figure out what's going on behind the scenes. It's not an instantaneous process mostly. So, especially with as much propaganda going on. So what say you? I want to talk about Iowa this morning. I want to talk about what's happening in the parties in Michigan, because this is nuts. And then I woke up this morning and I'm like watching the news. Vivek dropped out of the race, and I think Nikki Haley did too. I know that Vivek did. I haven't seen. Charlotte said Nikki's gone too. Well, she should be gone. So
she's a joke, but anyway, go ahead.
She's what?
She's a joke.
Oh yeah. Makes me not even want to be a woman, because I don't like women like her.
She's a dingbat.
She's a Democrat in Republican clothing.
Oh yeah. Right.
She's a Marxist. It's like the rest of them. They're all Marxists, and they jump over the aisles. So that's the problem. They're all in bed together.
They're not Americans.
They're not Americans, and they have, it's like. And then I watched the Republicans in the state going, I really hope that they will continue, whether or not you like who's behind information. The information stands. There's information that does stand, that is accurate. But if you're going to do it, you've got to do a lawful process, no matter what. So what's your opinion here, Mr. Tater?
Well, I spoke with one of my colleagues who actually is a delegate for the Republican Party. I was a delegate years and years ago, but I realized that you can't correct the sewer being inside the sewer. You got to be outside the sewer in order to fix it. So I quit. I said, I'm not doing that. That's not going anywhere.
Yeah, you can't fix anything from the inside. I hate to say it, but it's like within the government that we have right now, it is so big and so vast and so corrupt that only an outsider could make any gain, which is what President Trump did.
That's right.
He ran on the Constitution Party in the 90s. Yep. And I think he realized then what a problem we have, and he was able to get in there by a miracle of God himself, with the Republican Party. But it was because of the massive amount of Americans that stood with him. It wasn't the Republican Party, because they've never been.
That's right.
They have never backed him. I've never heard one word out of anyone in the state of Michigan in politics that actually backed the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump. He is a symbol of our voices, and that, of our voices that cut through the clutter, and really, really in an amazing way.
I agree. The only reason that I thought that he was the man of the hour was because of what he said, how he said it.
And what he did.
Well, of course, what he did, but we didn't know that when we voted for him. We only know what he said, but how he said it and what he said was critically important because he was not a politician.
Yeah.
He was not giving you this is what you all want to hear, folks, so I'm going to tell you what you want to hear, and then when I get in office, I'm going to do my own thing. He did not play the politician's game, the political parties' games, such as the Republicans in general are doing and the Democrats in general are doing. They're playing the game of whoever put them there, whoever's pulling the strings on them, they're puppet masters. That's what's going on in our country. And I think people are seeing that. A lot of people are waking up and seeing that those people that are pulling the strings are not the people that are in front and making the performance for you. Right. Those people are the puppets. And we have a lot of them. They're all over the place. But anyway.
Well, I posted a video yesterday on what's going to happen, because we're going to get dragged into another war yet here.
Oh yeah, that's coming. That's coming.
But what's really disturbing is, let me see if I can bring this up a minute. It's the world's next war is where I'm really concerned is in Guyana in South America. We've got Maduro. I'll read my post that I wrote yesterday, and I posted a video that I thought was fairly telling, because when you look at this, the similarities are shocking in the setup of Maduro. And then not only that, they were using the Dominion machines down there. So they were using it in the Philippines. This is nothing new. Nope. But the die is cast here, and the die is cast here with what's going on. So anyhow, Maduro destroyed the country by pandering, graft, and corruption, money laundering, everything to the elites for the purpose of maintaining power, money, and advantage. He literally bribed the people into compliance with the free crumbs of everything socialists love to bait people with. That's what's happening here. It's like people want instead of saying, what can I do? President Kennedy had it right and said, what can I do for my country? That's the question we should all be asking right now. Not what can we get off the system. That's where we're failing, and we're failing abysmally there. And it starts where? With us. It starts with us.
We have elected the government we want.
Yes, exactly. And it's all for personal gain. How much can you get out of the government, instead of saying, guys, we're going to have to step back and we're going to have to serve this nation, every single one of us, or we're dead. We're dead. So anyhow, he demonized and destroyed local businesses. And I've got an equal sign Democrat Whitmer unconstitutional lockdowns to destroy the Michigan local economy, enabled the globalist dynamic, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street Capital, etc. Number two, private-public partnerships are raged in Venezuela. That equals a Republican message come from Tudor Dixon, who used the term frequently and was backed by the globalists, such as the Amway group, who kicked $22 million to Pence right after January 6th, when she resigned on the 7th. Which quickly turned into state-owned industries in Venezuela. Once the country was destroyed, then grabbing the land and resources from Guyana, inspired by the global crime syndicate, investment in the infrastructure, uniparty money structure, and that's where it started to fall apart. They didn't diversify their economy. They absolutely jumped onto one industry. And it was sort of that they could just chip the breadcrumbs to the people, so they didn't have to do anything. They could do royalties and stuff, and then the economy slowly got down until the money dropped out of the bottom of the market, and boom, it was a free fall. And now what Venezuela did, they just had an election to basically commandeer part of Guyana, who has got one of the richest economies now, with the oil finds there in South America. They just decided, well, we used to own you, so we're just gonna have a referendum here, and we're gonna decide the Venezuelan people to just like take over part of Guyana. That's what they did. So now there's amassing of troops down there because Guyana cannot defend itself with about 800,000 people. And did you know that the population of Venezuela, because of they lost like 10% or more of their population, which was their people who could think, the higher educated people left. They've got 24 million people in the entire country of Venezuela. So I want you to think about that. State of Michigan has about 11 million people in it. This is an entire country. And watching people play politics down there, and how a Marxist governor or a Marxist president has basically destroyed that country. He didn't stand with him. He just baited him. He just bribed them into doing things just by telling them what they wanted to hear.
It's like our Marxist people in Lansing. Go ahead.
It's exactly. And it's the Republican Party. At this point in time, we've got to have better leadership in there. Just because Christina Caramo, when I start seeing them packing the entire management, the leadership of that organization and the money problems that they have in that with felons who are guilty of financial crimes, I'm like, nope, this has got to go, because it's just going to continue and it's going to be bad, and you have to address it. Whether you like who brought the information forward or not, the information still stands. So there you go. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I talked with a gentleman who is a friend of mine and is a Republican delegate, and he was talking to the old Republican guard, new leadership, or whatever you want to call them. I don't remember his name. I wish I did. But he was telling them about Norton, that you can't do what you're doing. You can't excommunicate your leader, which was Caramo, just by a vote of the new organization, and say we're going to start a new organization. You can't do that. Under Norton, that's not a possibility. Well, this gentleman says to Rob, well, we are a private organization, and a private organization doesn't fall under Norton, because Norton's about government. It's about being a political organization. So then I said to my friend Rob, I says, hey, Rob, how did you guys get elected as delegates? How'd you get in that position? Well, you had to go in front of the public and get voted in, didn't you? I said, then that doesn't make it a private organization. That makes it a public organization, because the public's involved. I says, you can't have it both ways. You're either private, where you can only deal with private business, or you're public and you can deal in the public. So he says, oh, that's an interesting thought. So then I called my friend Ron, who we've met before on the air, and Ron says it's all fake. Everything's fake. The Republican Party's fake. The money's fake. The government's fake. It's all fake. None of it's real. All that we've been put in front of us, all that has been put in front of us has been a performance. It's all fake. None of it's real. So he's going to go back to that gentleman and explain to him that you can't be a private organization and be partially public. Again, when you run as a Republican, they put you into that position to run for governor, to run for this. But you and me, when we were running for governor, we had to get so many signatures in order to get on that position, in order to get to that position, to be able to run on the ballot. How is that? In Michigan, or in Detroit years ago, they had like 15 people running for the mayor of Detroit. Nobody had to get signatures or anything. They just put their name on the ballot. How is it that in Lansing you have to go through some sort of
institution professional vetting to make sure you're playing ball with the establishment.
Yes. What kind of nonsense is that? So either the Republican Party is a private organization, which they have to stay way out of government. They can't elect people and put them on the ballot. Same with the Democrats. I'm not only picking on Republicans. Democrats aren't any different. Or you are a public organization and Norton applies to you. And you can't create a de facto office. So how do you create a second faction of the Republican Party, the old guard? How do you do that? You can't do that under Norton versus Shelby County because there you have no constitutional authority or no authority under the Republican bylaws to do so. So how are you doing that? So there's a lot of the Republican Party, the old guard and the new guard and whoever other guards are out there, they're all doing whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. There is no authority to do what they're doing.
Well, I tell you, I really gotta commend and Melinda Pego, because she was the vice chair and saw something wrong and said, and she never wanted to my knowledge, she never wanted the position of chair. She had nothing to gain. And so when she saw something wrong and she said something and started things in motion, I have to commend people who stand up for their convictions and such. I'm a little disgusted with the how do I say it? The attitude of never step down, stay in that position. It's like that's not okay.
That's right.
That's just not okay. And also the lack of critical thinking when people can't see the numbers without having to be on somebody's team. You don't have to be on somebody's team to be able to look at numbers and know that there's a problem. And the problem has to be, that's how you reach across the aisle, quite honestly, is you listen to what people are saying from both sides, and you look at it for information, not because you have to have a fan club or some sort of a, teenage glee club or something to help you make up your mind on things. You got to be able to critically think. And that's one of the things they did in Venezuela is anybody that went against these parties was eliminated. They did the same thing in World War II. Anybody that was critically thinking or sounding the warning of what was happening, they eliminated them, either silencing them or death.
Got to remember that it's not the people, it's not the races, it's not the religions, it's not the genders, disagreements between each other. It's the government. The government's our enemy. They've always been. And even during the days of Washington, the government was how did he put it? The uncontrollable fire, necessary but uncontrollable. So we bring in the Constitution to control them, to control the evilness that could be perpetuated upon us. And this is where we are at today. And the people, unfortunately, are not savvy enough to say that, the government's the problem. We need to be careful. They all walk around with their red button on that says they're a Republican or they're a Democrat. And that's the dumbest thing in the world.
It's like the Starbelly Sneetches. It's like so that they can divide us. The Dr. Seuss book with Starbelly Sneetches. It's crazy. Yeah. I got to bring up one more thing that I saw this week too. There's a certain 501c3, I believe it's a 501c3 in this state, and I did a deep dig on them years ago, and they have chapters in every single state of the union, and they also have international chapters, and it's an adoption agency. But I looked at how they did their money, and it was most of what they were bringing in was for refugee resettlement. instead of what they started in. And so this week they decided to come out and say, we're not going to do, have anybody hired here because we're Christian, speaking Christianese. Okay. Now, I have nothing against believers in Christ. I am a Christian, but I don't like it used to push an agenda.
Of course.
To me, that's like super hypocritical. So they decided that they will not be, they decided to pick on a group of people. And in their own little hypocritical way, I'm looking at them, I'm like, you guys are involved in child trafficking and human trafficking. So how can you sit there and pick on another group? Any of these groups, like Catholic services, Lutheran services, Bethany Christian service, they're taking money to move people around. And I found an article when I was really digging into this specific group in Grand Rapids, where there was 8 children lost at the border. They didn't know where they were, and bam, they show up in Michigan within this group. They had no idea where they went until they popped up here in Grand Rapids. And it's like, I'm sorry. We're just gonna say, well, we're Christian. We're okay. We can do anything we want. And then, guys, this is like people saying, I'm a Republican, believe me. I'm a Democrat, believe me. There's my label. That makes it all right. And it doesn't. You have to look at what their actions are. You have to look at the money and such. It's disgusting.
It is.
Absolutely disgusting. So you can look
at
that 90s said organization in Grand Rapids like I did to see their $405 million that they brought in. This is not a small potatoes. These 501c3s are a big problem in this nation.
Oh, yeah.
We're nonprofit. No, you're not. You are for profit. You just don't show it on a balance sheet, and it goes into people's pockets that are associated with the organization.
Well, the nonprofit was brought on by Johnson back in the, when was he in office? 67, 68, 69. It was in that time period where they brought on the 501c3 group of so-called tax exempt people, where they could get away without paying tax if they could prove that they were non-taxable because they were a non-profit organization. That whole thing is BS.
It's rigged.
Is rigged. Yeah.
The whole thing is rigged, and it's just like the churches. Anybody that claims that 501c3 status as a church, I probably wouldn't darken the doorstep, because quite honestly, that means it's a government church. Exactly right. Like the schools. The schools are government schools. The churches are they're government controlled. They can't say they don't have free speech.
That's right. Because they lose their status.
Therefore, they have to depart from what they really believe in and follow what the government allows them to say.
Yes, and who knows what they believe in at this point in time? I don't know.
I don't know. It's all nuts.
They may not believe in America.
I'm throwing all the labels out for everything right now and just looking at people for what they are, and right. What I see, and it's like all of this is nonsense. There's so much nonsense going on out there, and quite honestly, I don't need to have somebody tell me how to think. I think Tucker did a really good, a very, very good video the other day talking about, if you feel it inside here, it's truly, it's God talking to you. If something doesn't feel right, there's probably something wrong with it, and you've got to trust that there's something wrong. And it's not that you're going to get it in the first pass. You start peeling off layers, and until the first layer of indoctrination, you peel that back. Then there's another layer, and you peel that back, and you peel that back, and you find out more. You find out more as you go. You're not going to get it all right in the first pass. But if we continue to follow God and truly trust Him talking to us, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, the labeling has been something that's been going on for a long, long time. Now, what's the difference between a liberal and a conservative? That's another one. They asked me when I was running for governor and asked me when I was running for sheriff if I'm going to be if I'm conservative or if I'm a liberal.
They don't even know what that means.
Exactly my point.
At all.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, I'm a liberal, so that means that I save puppies and kitties and that sort of thing. I think that's what a lot of people think it is. Instead of liberal means more government, liberal, more government intervention. And you give everything to them and they decide who gets what and which agendas they're funding. Conservative is less government. Conservative.
Let's call it what it is. You're either a person that's involved in pushing for the republics or you're pushing for the democracy. Which one are you? Now we have something that you can really understand what a democracy is and what a republic is. And are you for the republic or are you for the democracy? Better yet, are you for freedom or are you for communism and fascism? They're both the same. Communism and fascism are the same. They get you to the same point in time, controlled by government or controlled by an elite group of people.
Okay, so you want me to say something that's going to be really offensive to a lot of people?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Probably true. Okay, so democracy is mob rule.
Yes,
it's absolutely mob rule. There are no personal rights or individual rights in a democracy. So in its rawest form, if you have the majority, you can do whatever you want. And that's all you got to do is get to a majority. And that means you can trample on the rights of everyone else. In a democracy, if it's the majority of the people say, okay, I don't like dog lovers. We're going to get rid of all the dogs in the planet. Well, what if you like dogs? You have no rights because now the mob has, and in its purest form, I was watching the Tony Robinson or the Tommy Robinson channel the other day, and there was a street gang, and they showed it. They showed a woman that was gang raped, and it was like crazy, but in its purest form. Well, that's a democracy.
That's right.
You had about 5 guys that raped this woman. Well, it's a democracy. Is that what we're fighting for? They wanted to rape her. She had no rights.
That's right. That's exactly correct. And did you see the Iowa? What was it?
The caucus?
No, it wasn't the caucus. It was where Trump was on stage.
He is such amazing. He is so amazing.
Did you watch it? Did you see what was behind Trump?
17 flags.
No. What was behind Trump in the Iowa town meeting? What was the sign behind Trump in the Iowa meeting?
I don't know. I didn't see that.
Democracy 2024.
Well, might be up to you and me, John. It might be up to you and me.
I'm certain because I was on television too when I ran for governor, and I was on one of the networks. I don't remember which one it was, CBS, ABC, NBC. I went into the studio. What was behind me? Democracy 2020, 2021 or 2020, I guess, or whatever it was. But the word democracy was behind me. You call this is subliminal propaganda that they're pushing on us. They write democracy all over the place, and people follow into that nonsense. You don't have to actually say democracy. You have to just kind of put it all over everywhere. It's democracy here, democracy there, and people pick it up because it's part of the subliminal thinking process. It's in your mind all the time.
Can you imagine President Trump standing up there with a Republican Party which is so off the rails, so completely off the rails right now, and having to stand up there because I'm pretty sure he didn't put that sign behind him.
It wasn't him. It wasn't him.
It wasn't him. It wasn't him. And look at what is his name, Michael Cassidy, that tore down the satanic display within the Capitol.
Yeah.
And you gotta look at that and say how in the world did Kimmy there allow any of this to take place? This is no place. This is no place in our state capital. This is no place in society, as far as I'm concerned, because when you look at the human rights abuses within in the Church of Satan, it's an organization which promotes human rights violations.
Do you know what wrecks the subliminal process is? When you really know, sorry about that, when you really know what that word is all about, when you actually physically see it, mentally see it, and not just let it go by. I'm listening to Trump, and Trump is talking, and I'm paying attention to him. But in the background, subliminally, it says democracy. Well, if you understand that that word is back there and it shouldn't be there, then you made a connection mentally, and you'll understand what's going on. You'll understand that you're being played. But if you don't make that connection, then you don't know. So hopefully by us talking about this and letting people know that watch those kinds of broadcasts, see what's the background all about, see what's going on in the background. And if they're talking one thing, but they have democracy in the back, then you know what's going on.
Well, and I think it's teaching people to critically think.
Yes,
it's the critical thinking skills of not just believing everything you hear or everyone you hear. You like I said, I talk to everyone. Do I believe what everybody has to say? No, I don't. I'm listening for information. There's not one person I believe every single thing coming out of their mouth. And it's not that they're maybe not trying to mislead, but that's just their perspective and what they know. That doesn't make them, a God status that we listen to them, but we're listening for more information so that we can make good decisions. And if something resonates with us, we go, and then go check it out and see if there's some truth to it. Now, that doesn't mean that we're all in on everything. I think they needed to, like Pego, absolutely, they needed to go in there and they needed to remove the people that were failing the party. And because they were changing the rules, they were writing new bylaws, all that sort of thing. They were doing exactly what I would expect anybody in the government to do. You don't like things, you rewrite the bylaws. And that's all they talked about that I heard with Christina Karama was, let's just keep rewriting the bylaws so that we can do whatever we want. That's what they do in Lansing. We don't like the rules, we just rewrite the bylaws so that now all the power is, aggregated under us and nobody can react. And so they
have no authority to do that. Do you understand? When you get brought in under a set of bylaws, or you get brought in under the set of a charter or the Constitution, you can't rewrite the Constitution or the charter or the bylaws to fit your own purpose. The whole purpose of the bylaws was to get you in power, and then you can't change them once you're in power.
Well, that's exactly what they did, because I got the meeting that Christina kicked me out of was what they were talking about. And she looked at me and said, well, you're not a real Republican. I'm like, I didn't leave the Republican Party. The Republican Party left me. You guys abandoned me because you sure as heck couldn't have Donna Brandenburg on the ticket. And, and it's like that, which is okay. I'm not butthurt over any of this. But just as an evaluation, sometimes we win by losing. And that's what I feel, because I wasn't part of them. And I'm very proud of the fact that I did not swim in that swamp at this point in time, because they kept me out. And it's like, wow, that's like one of the greatest honors I could have been given. They wouldn't play ball. So anyhow, she said, you're not a real Republican. And then, she said, after all, you're not a real Republican. I'm like, you son of a bitches, you're the one that got me out. It wasn't me that left. And then the meeting, though, all they talked about was that they were going to rewrite the bylaws. They wanted everybody that was part of the committee to chip in X amount of dollars to bail them out of their $540,000 loss, which they quoted in that meeting. They were going to ask everybody to chip in to bail them out. And it was absolutely nuts. But that meeting was about rewriting the bylaws, and that's what continued on. So when I see what happened with Melinda and what the people around her did, it was like they saw somebody who basically was absolutely failing at the position. No money. There was no the policies I saw were just to rewrite the rules to keep their little club going, but there was going to be no go for candidates. There was going to be no help for them. There was going to be nothing for President Trump, and to actually carry out the will of the people. It was a small group of people that just want to keep that going as is. So it's really sad.
Yep, it was.
So anyhow, that's the Donna take on it. And I was there and I saw it and I heard it. So it's not he said, she said. It's like I was there. I heard it.
Yeah.
So is what it is.
I wanted to jump the topic a little bit because we beat up on the Republican Party enough for that. Anyway, for today. I'm sure there will be more that we can chew on later. But anybody that, and you know what, if they would have told me you're not a real Republican, and I would have said, I'm proud of it.
Not that kind, just
so happy I am not a Republican.
Yeah, I'm not that kind that changes rules to sit there to create a stronger centralized power structure. That's all they were doing, taking a vote away from the people.
That's right. Well, they don't really care about the people. They
care about not at all.
Care about themselves and the party, and that's what it's all about. Now, today, while I was digging around on the computer, on the internet, I ran into an article on global warming, and I just got a little, it's short, and I got to read it. This is written, by the way, by a person that's a professor in Massachusetts. So just to give you some idea where this is coming from. Otherwise, you wouldn't get it. Okay. It says, after the summer of record-breaking heat. And I don't remember any record-breaking heat this last summer. In fact, I thought it was very nice and mild.
Yeah.
Vast swaths of the United States are not gripping with extreme cold as the brutal Arctic blast brings snow squalls, deadly ice, and life-threatening wind chills. An unprecedented heat makes way for cold. Huh? Okay. It can provide fuel for climate change deniers who point to freezing temperatures as evidence that global warming is overstated. But scientists are clear. Cold extremes will still occur even when winter warm overall. Even as winter warms overall. Global heat records outplace cold records. 2023 was the hottest year ever recorded. Really? Was it? Wasn't here, not where I was living anyway.
Not even close. 2 years ago, we had a lot of days over 100 degrees, but I believe it was 2 years ago, 2 or 3. But last year wasn't bad at all.
To finish that sentence, it says by a huge margin. And even in the U.S. struggles to cope with internal bursts of heavy snow now. Over the long term, the human-caused climate crisis has led to an alarming trend of disappearing snow in North Hampshire. In the Northern Hemisphere. They didn't look at my backyard over here. I'm telling you that.
You got snow? I got a lot of snow.
Some scientists say that climate change may even be playing a role in the icy blasts, as warming in the Arctic increases the likelihood that frigid polar air can sweep southward. I didn't read the rest. I don't want to go over the rest of the article, but it's on Yahoo. So if you click on Yahoo, this climate change propaganda is going to come up. And they're trying to say that global warming is the reason that we're having this Arctic blast. I mean, unbelievable. And people buy into this stuff constantly. I just don't get it.
It's a death of critical thinking is what it is.
It is.
It's like I don't know what to say. So there you go.
I just thought it was interesting when I read it.
It's gotten to the point where it's kind of funny. You know, you just look at it and what's the new stupidity of the day?
It's exactly what it is. Exactly.
I sit there and I'm like, you couldn't make this stuff up if you tried.
No, you couldn't.
It's like, did you see United? United has now got a trans CEO.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's like, check another one off the list. I'd rather have somebody that was a little bit more in touch with reality instead of pushing a Marxist agenda and worried about the patrons rather than, I don't know, can't do it.
I'm not going to fly United anymore.
Yeah, John.
Anyway, let's get on to Article 2.
Let's do this.
Section 2 of the United States Constitution. We talked about the president and his actions. Remember something very critical here, ladies and gentlemen of the gallery, that if it's not written in the Constitution, then that particular body of government does not have any authority to carry out those duties. If it's not written down, it has to be written in order for that authority to be there. So as we go through Section 2, that if it's not written there, they don't have that authority. Okay? The president shall be commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states when called into the actual service of the United States. He may require the opinion in writing of the principal officers in each of the executive departments. That's interesting. That's interesting. He may require the opinion in writing of the principal officers in each of the executive departments, such as the Department of Labor, Department of Energy, Department of this, or Department of that. Mm-hmm. He may request an opinion, but can the departments that exist, the alphabet departments, have any authority to do anything on the public?
Absolutely not.
It doesn't say that in here that I see yet. Well, we'll read on. So he may request the opinion. So if the opinion of the Department of Energy says that we need to reduce coal in Virginia, they can go to the president, and the president can make a decision to push forth to get this to be done. But the Department of Energy can't do it. They have no authority to do that. They can only give an opinion. So this is where we have these departments have stretched way beyond their authority, usurped authority they were never granted. Department upon any subject related to the duties of their respective offices, and he shall have the power to grant reprievals and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. Now, I'm wondering what happened back during Nixon's impeachment when Ford granted him a pardon. Was that authorized? Did he have the authority to grant Nixon? And I don't want to bring up old wounds, and maybe Nixon was a good guy and he wasn't. And I'm sure he was reasonable, but he was going against the deep state, and that's why he was impeached. But here we have a very clear case that Ford could not have granted him a pardon for the impeachment. It's not in here. He doesn't have that authority. He shall have the power by and with the advice of the consent of the Senate. Oh, by the way, the Senate. Who's the Senate, by the way? Senate's a group of people, a gaggle of people voted on by the public, which is not what the Senate is supposed to be. Remember, we talked about the Senate. Every senator is for the federal government is picked or voted in by the Congress of that state. They're the representatives of the state, not the 17th Amendment, which turned it over to the public. That was never meant to be the case. So anyway, why is this so important? Because the states had the power at this point in time to give advice to the president. Now the states don't have that power because the Senate no longer is part of the state, but rather part of the gaggle of people. To make treaties, provide 2/3 of the senators present concur. Now, this brings us back to another question. Treaties are made between countries, aren't they?
I believe so, yes.
The United Nations is not a country, is it?
It is not.
The United Nation can't have a treaty with the United States, can it?
It cannot.
That's very good. Okay. And the fact of the matter is that the Senate did not concur to a treaty, even on the fake side, with the UN. The UN is just a body of people getting together. So how can the UN come to the United States and say, we're going to control guns like they were doing back in Obama's day? They were going to make a UN treaty and take all the guns away or control guns in the United States. Can't do it. Doesn't have constitutional authority to do it. I think the Supreme Court knows that. But the people need to really understand that. The people need to know that the United Nations really has no authority to do anything. How about the CDC or the WHO?
Nope.
They're even further removed than the UN. Okay.
Yep.
Let's go back to, and the Senate president concurs, and he shall nominate and by and with the advice and consent of the Senate shall appoint ambassadors or other public ministers and councils, judges of the Supreme Court and all other offices of the United States, whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for, and which shall be established by law. Well, if the Senate is unconstitutional, which it is, because the 17th Amendment can't change Article 2 of the Constitution, and Article 1 of the Constitution cannot do that, then the Senate is fake. Okay, we got a fake organization trying to put together fake people into the government. It's all fake. Appointments. But the Congress may by law vest the appointments of such inferior officers as they think proper in the president alone, in the courts of law, or in the heads of departments. So legislature can do some of this stuff, but the legislature too is fake. We'll get to that eventually. The president shall have the power to fill all vacancies that may happen during recess of the Senate by granting commissions which shall expire at the end of the next session. Well, that's never happened. He shall, Section 3, he shall from time to time give to Congress information of the state of the Union and recommendations to their consideration, such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. Who is the State of the Union supposed to be addressed to?
Congress.
Congress. To the people? All this stuff on television about the president giving the State of the Union to the people on such and such a date is fake. He's not to do that. That's not his responsibility because he answers to only one group of people, and that's Congress. He doesn't answer to the people. He is the executive of Congress. He's not the executive of us, of the people of America.
Well, the problem is you get the media involved in it, and they're spinning it in multiple ways in order for them to push an agenda. What I don't like is you sit there and watch them. Half of them stand up and clap, and then another half stand up and clap, and then they stand. It's so ridiculously scripted and partisan that it's kind of nauseating.
Yes, and he's not, and it was not supposed to be brought to the public anyway.
Well, it doesn't prohibit it, though, does it?
Say what?
It doesn't prohibit it, though. I mean,
he could give a State of the Union to Congress, and it could be televised.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I'd like to see more information instead of the rah-rah talking points, because that's all I see in a State of a Union is just it's a little bit of talking points and such. But I suppose you got to do that. But I would rather see a more of a work session.
That's what it should be.
That's what it should be, and not just a media.
Not a choreographed performance.
Yes.
Convene on, extraordinary occasions, convene on both houses and either of them, or in the case of the degree of disagreement between them, with respects to the time of adjournment, he may adjourn them to such time as he shall think proper. He shall receive ambassadors and other public ministries. He shall take care of the laws be faithfully executed, and shall commission all other officers of the United States. Back to take care that all laws be faithfully executed. Remember, all laws come from where?
The legislature.
That's right. Not from executive orders. And this is the same with the states. They're set up the same way. So if you understand the federal Constitution, you pretty much understand the state constitutions, because they should be somewhat parallel with each other. They're not exactly, but they should be. The president, vice president, and all other officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors.
So we could get them all for bribing the public for putting money into their special causes.
Yeah, but can you tell me where President Trump was convicted? He wasn't convicted, but he was impeached by the Senate, by the House of Representatives. But what crimes of treason or bribery or other high crimes of misdemeanor did he create or did he do?
I saw nothing. I don't think he's guilty of anything, and that's why they can't get anything to stick to him, because he didn't commit. From what I can see, there was nothing that he did wrong.
And that's why the Senate
don't like him.
That's why the Senate did not remove him, because the impeachment was fake. Both impeachments were fake. They were fake by a Congress that is fake. And that's how we have to look at this, what's going on in our country right now. It's all fake.
Yeah.
Starting from the money system on down. And the way we're going to fix it as people, and we, the American people, need to do it just like they're doing in Germany and France and all the other countries. We need to say, no, we're not going to do it anymore. Sorry. We're not going to pay your traffic tickets because they're not in constitutional money. We're not going to listen to ordinance officers because they're not in the charters. They're not granted authority in the charters. We're not going to put up with the groups of people that call themselves that try to run government from the state level or from the city charters. We're not going to put up with that nonsense because it's all fake. And we are the people that need to start pushing back and saying, no, we're not doing that anymore. Until the people do that, until the people stand up and say no, we're going to continue down this road of nonsense with a fake government that's robbing us blind on a daily basis.
What would that look like for people out there to see what you just said or hear what you just said? What would that look like to you for people to just say no and to take back the government?
What it would look like at the very beginning would be...
What's the strategy?
My strategy would be we don't go out in mass. We do it individually, because we go out in mass, then we become a gaggle of people, a gang. That's not the way to do it. But the way to do it is individually. The way to do it is understand the law, pull out the Constitution and say, hey, where's your authority, officer so-and-so, to do what you're doing? Where's your authority, officer so-and-so, to issue me a ticket and charge me a fine for speeding on a road that I have all the rights in the world to travel on without being restricted by you or constrained by you to behave a certain way? I'm not going to be going down the road speeding anyway. But if I'm 5 or 10 miles over the speed limit and the government turns around and says, well, you're 5 miles over, I'm going to give you a ticket for that. Where's your authority, officer so-and-so, to do so? And push back and go to court and argue with them. I'm traveling. I'm not driving. You don't have any authority over somebody traveling. You only have authority over somebody driving. And so that's the kind of pushback you could do, and the kind of pushback that would keep you out of harm's way, because you don't want to get to a point where they're going to arrest you and throw you in jail, and they can't do that anyway, because we have no debtor's prison in America. So they can't throw you in jail for not paying a fine or a fee. If once you understand the law, once you understand Norton, and you understand how the law applies and how the Constitution applies, then you lose a lot of the fear. A lot of the fear goes away. You're not worried about that blue light flashing behind you in your car, because you know what you're doing, and you know who you are, and you have authority over them to argue with them and come out of it successfully. That's what we need to be. People need to understand what the laws are and how they apply. And we don't want anarchy in the country, that's for sure. And that's where the government wants to push us into a war, to a civil war. We don't want to go there. We're not going there.
True enough. It's like it has to be a lawful process, and the law's on our side.
That's right. The law's 100% on our side.
I think if there was more interaction between people and our elected officials, that our public functionaries, that would change things substantially. If they actually knew that the people were not just going to jump around with signs outside, but actually talk to them, write letters, and start a lawful process, that would be a game changer.
That's right. That's right. Even my little, once in a while, writing letters to government officials makes a difference.
Well,
and I'm only one person. What if we had 50 people writing those letters?
And do these people know you? Do they know? Do your elected officials know who you are? That's not just you. This goes to everybody. Do they know who you are? If they don't, then we probably have a problem there.
That's right. They have to know that who we are and that we mean business. That we're not going to sit down and take it. Same with going back to the Republican Party. Same with Caramo and all of those people. If they had the delegates that said, no, we're not going to do this. This is incorrect. This is an inappropriate behavior. But they kind of follow the leader because they don't know. They don't know the laws. They don't know that they can't change the charter. They can't change the charter overnight by a gaggle of people. That's not what this is. That's not how the program was set up. That's can't be done.
That's what was one of the other things that was disturbing, though. You don't just go in and then focus on rewriting bylaws, because that's I just about dropped my jaw when I heard that. I said, "Are you kidding me?" And but it is, like you said, you have to look at the process and the information, not the people involved. Because if we just look at the people involved, all it is a cult of personality. Like, I don't have to like somebody to work with them. In fact, it matters not to me whether I personally like somebody or not. I usually don't have strong personal feelings one way or the other for people, because I'm not looking for a hero. I'm listening to information. That's it. That's it. And but you should be able to work with anybody, whether you agree with them or disagree with them, and have, that's what we need to base it on. But at any rate, I mean, we could sit and spin on that one for a long time. I really like going through the articles and going through the Constitution a lot, because I think that there's been such a deficit in our teaching and learning that we could spend a lifetime studying this and other documents, and we still wouldn't be able to really get our arms entirely around the genius of this document and the other founding documents. So it's like this is something that's a lifelong study, and to be able to really, dissect it. It's just like reading the Bible. The Bible, you go back and you read it, you reread it, and you study it, and then you try to connect passages with each other and find what, if there was deeper meaning there, or how to carry it out. We don't even know how to carry out self-rule at this point in time, because everything has been so changed. And so this is a starting point for everybody. It's not just one person, it's everybody. We're still trying to figure this thing out, and how we got here, and how do we bring it back? How do we bring this back into line? Well, I think nullification is going to be one of the main answers, is that we have to start nullifying everything until we get back to what the Constitution said. And then that's keep the government on the rails, keep it constrained. We've got to have job descriptions and hold people to them, not so that they can't just be like, well, I've got this title, I'm going to do whatever I want. That's not how it works.
Well, you just brought me up an interesting point here. Who is the fourth branch of government? Not the bureaucracy. They're like the fifth or sixth or seventh or whatever.
Well,
it's the fourth branch of government.
Should be we the people, shouldn't it? The grand jury the grand jury.
Jury.
Yeah, the grand jury.
Who has the power to nullify a law?
Excuse me?
Who has the power to nullify a law?
I can't answer that. I think that there may be a couple ways to do it.
The jury.
So jury does it.
The jury can nullify a law. And that's been taken away from us over the years by the government, because the government doesn't want the jury to know about jury nullification. And back when, there are people out on the street passing out flyers about the jury when they go into the courtroom, and the government doesn't like that. And they tell them that you can't do that. You got to get off the property, off our property, which is not their property, which is a public property. Jury has the right to nullify a law that is not appropriate.
What does that process look like?
Well, when you get into the jury, that's why you should be on a jury. That's why you should never say, oh, how do I get out of jury duty? You got to go on the jury. You got to be an informed juror on a jury. And if you get into a jury, for example, what if you, and this will go backwards a little bit. What if it was a law on, what if the law was that you can't have marijuana in your possession? That, using that law as an example, because that's the easiest one. The jury says there's no need for that. That law is a incorrect law. Therefore, we're going to nullify it. Your Honor, we are nullifying the law on this law on marijuana. Just boom, it's done. And once it's done, once it becomes public record, it is what it is. The law, the jury nullified it back in so and so on such and such a date on such and such a case. Then it becomes case law. And then we change the whole structure of what the government is trying to do to us. There are many other laws that we could nullify if we knew that, if the jury knew that was a possibility that they could do it.
Awesome.
But juries are ignorant, and they want you to be stupid when you go to jury duty. They don't want you to be smart.
Go along, get along. That's the motto of our government right now. Just go along to get along, or you get silenced or removed. So that's been the Marxist credo from the beginning of time. So,
and we should talk about jury nullification more often, because people need to know that.
I think so.
Need to be on jury duty, and they need to nullify unconstitutional. Sometimes it's not even unconstitutional. It's just morally incorrect to have such a law.
I like the way you think, Mr. Tater, and thanks for being on today, John. I see you've got X22 on. You've got your little X22 butter on. That's cool. I love Dave. Hi, Dave. I love Dave. He's cool.
Before we run tonight or Wednesday, we're going to be at Nicola's on Telegraph, north of 10 Mile, face to face from 5 to 9 on Wednesday. If anybody's interested in coming out there, we'd love to see you. Shake hands, break bread with us, get to know who we are. And then for the following week, we'll be back on air on the Zoom program.
Okay. Thanks so much, John, for being here today. Love you to pieces, and you have a great day, and we'll see you next week on Tuesday for Tatar Tuesday.
See y'all next week. By the way, let's tackle the first article of the Constitution next week.
Okay. I'll have it pulled up, and we'll be sitting right here, okay?
All righty.
Have a great day. Thank you.
You too.
And we will be right back in a few minutes with Courtenay Turner and Real History. Good morning. Welcome to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg. It's the 16th day of January 2024, and welcome to my guest for Real History, Courtenay Turner. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
Doing great. I'm excited for you. You're on InfoWars today.
I am. Yes, we're trying to sound the alarm about these NACs. I'm going to speak for the state capitol tomorrow for the Agricultural Committee and try to get them to submit their comments. Yeah.
That's awesome. You're killing it out there.
Thank you. Well, I just feel like this is, it's not that it's new and it's not like it's not something they're already doing, but I just feel like this one, because they have pushed back the comment ruling, it feels like they have been getting some pushback and that they're responding to it. So it seems like there might be some hope to at least slow down some of their plans. And this one, as much as I think people get, some of the conservation stuff and the sustainability, all of that, but I think it's really tied to all of the, biodigital convergence, the AI world society. I think that's really what it's laying the groundwork for. So the further that we can derail them or slow them down, the better.
I think it's great and I applaud you. So what's going on today? What else do you want to talk about today?
So I actually was just looking for my.
We never know what we're going to talk about whenever we get on every day. We just kind of get on and it's like, well, let's see which way you want to go here. And then
well, usually I do have a plan, but I'm looking for it because I'm so focused on getting this the NACs out. So after this week, I will be able to focus, I think, on other things, unless they do extend it. And if they extend it, I mean, I hope they do. Then we'll keep hammering it because, yeah, where did I put that? Hang on, I'm looking. I don't know where I put it. Let's see. Oh, I think. Hang on. Yes, I put it right here. But yeah, so that's gonna be today, and then I'm going on tonight. I'm really trying to hammer it locally because I think that's one of the best ways to do it, so people can address like their county, like what is it, the BLM, Bureau of Land Management, and some of their county representatives, for them to go and make comments on this ruling, against the ruling. Obviously, state people, federal representative. And then with the comments, I don't know if I knew this last time we spoke, but it turns out that the reason the comments are so important is that likely they'll try and push it through anyway, but the people who wrote comments will be part of the lawsuit. So you need to show that you have standing and that you've been somehow afflicted by it. And the people who submitted the comments will be able to join in the class action suit against the SEC.
And where do we find the ability to put our comments in?
So it is.
I know I have it up here, but I'm going to have you.
Yeah, it's sec.gov. I'm going to just text it to you. That might be the easiest because it's a kind of long one.
Okay.
And then let me see where there's. I just want to make this note for people. So I sent you where the website is. So when people make their comments, you have to put in the subject file no.sr-nyse-2023-09.
Hold on here, and then I'm gonna try to post
Yeah.
this. And so let me bring this up here a minute. I'm a little slow when it comes to this, but do the best we can, right?
Yeah, totally.
Usually takes a little bit of time for me to get this over, but keep talking. And
yeah, so
can you text that to me too?
This one, yeah, I'm gonna do that right now.
Text me the numbers that they need to put in their comments.
Yes, the note that the subject line. Okay. So I'm gonna send that to you.
Okay.
It is right here. So what it has to be in the subject line, they have to say file no.sr-nyse-2023-09, asking the SEC not to allow NAC, and then S. So next, and then to all involved at the SEC, I'm urging the SEC not to allow the New York Stock Exchange to list natural asset companies or NACs pursuant to file number, and again, it's no.sr-nyse-2023-09. And you have to put that in the subject line, otherwise it doesn't count. So this
it's SRNYSE 202309.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so look right here, guys. Here's public comments. That has to be in the subject line.
Yes.
And then you probably say, absolutely no.
Yeah. And so for people who might feel a little overwhelmed, that you can look at the record of comments, view received comment to get suggestions. And you can even, it can be 1 or 2 lines. We just want numbers, but you can even take, like, let's say you go through that and you find somebody's comment who you really like. You can then cut and paste, and you can say, as a part of my comment, I adopt the position of, and then you just cut and paste. So that can be your comment. That is perfectly fine. And I just want to put that out there for people because I know it can be a little overwhelming. A lot of people have told me they don't fully understand what's going on. They don't know how they would write a comment. They know that they don't want it to go through, but they don't necessarily understand all the detail, and they don't feel qualified to write their own comment. So that's what you can do. It can be just like, one. Yeah, see, this is just one line. Or you can cut and paste somebody else's line, and you can, or a whole document, and say, I adopt the position of as part of my comments. So, yeah, that makes it a little bit less daunting and overwhelming for people.
Let's see. Let's go down and just read the comments here.
Sure.
What are the different have been received from using the following letter types? What does this mean? The following letter types. I don't understand that section.
I don't know what that means, actually.
No, I don't know what that means, but that's okay. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see this.
Yeah.
One.
So
I'm writing to make comment on proposed NAC establishment. I want to say that giving a private company purview or partial ownership of our country's natural resources is a big mistake. Not only is it, so is foreign ownership too, but we won't go there. Mm-hmm. Not only is it unconstitutional to allow a private company to take over management of our federal land, it is a national security risk and a waste of money. There are numerous government departments that already oversee federal lands. This new legislation should not be passed. We shouldn't allow a private company that has no accountability to the people of the United States to manage federal land and manage federal property. Allowing a non-governmental agency this much power will open up a pathway to corruption with the possibility of a national emergency where we might need resources from our land. With a private company in charge may not allow the United States to use the property and could create a national crisis for national security does not align with the NAC's corporate agenda. They could also decide to sell the land or resources to a foreign company or country, creating an international crisis. The United States is a sovereign nation and should remain as such. Please vote against the measure and do not allow NACs to come into existence. Sincerely, Joshua Builder, small business owner and minority employer. Well said, Joshua.
Yeah.
Bravo. And so I think
25 attorney generals just got together and they did a comment, and they really pointed out the legal position. So
are they in here?
They are. I don't know is there a way to search for specific comments?
I don't know. I'm kind of curious now because I'd like to hear the.
Yeah, I might be able to just find that, but this
is amazing.
25 attorney. Yeah, let's see if I can find that. But yeah, there has to be. Oh yeah, there it is. Attorney General. That's the Attorney Generals. There were 25 of them who wrote. There you go.
Oh, this is going to be a great post because I'm going to post this.
Yes,
this is interesting.
And they really laid out the legal case. So the American Stewards of Liberty did a great one. That was about 9 pages. I think I touched on that last week. And
is that in the comments too, or is that somewhere else?
It is, but you can also go to americanstewards.us and they have it there. But this one points out the legal case. And then Marlo Oaks, who's the state treasurer for Utah, he did a great one as well. And he got 22 other state treasurers. It might be more now. Then they're actually the reason that they extended the comments period. Yeah.
That's outstanding. So let me give me that other one that you just said, and I'll pull that one up from
americanstewards.us.
Let's see. And of course they took me on a wild goose chase here.
Yes.
The Googles. It's the Googles. Actually, I've got DuckDuckGo up, but so yeah, we had this one up last week. And
yeah, exactly. It's a great one. And they have a lot of resources there. If you go to everything you need to know, they have a bunch of links. They have a link to the SEC submission page. They have links for their comments. They have a bunch of resources. So,
do you have other people that you know that are involved in this that I could interview? Because I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, so I just had on Margaret Byfield, and she's the executive director for American Stewards of Liberty. Marlo Oakes would be a great one. He's been really sounding the alarm on this, and he's the state treasurer for Utah.
Okay.
And then who else might be a good resource?
But we can connect on that later and
Sure.
go down that
Mhm.
that avenue. Really the Citizens United that really changed the corporate law in the United States absolutely needs to be repealed. And a lot of this nonsense of corporate privilege, because they really
Mhm.
do. It's corporate privilege over and deference to, rather than to Americans. And
Totally.
the whole agenda was to strip away the rights that we have as an American and put it in the hands of these big funds. And
Yep.
and that's been going on for quite a while. I was
Yeah.
yeah, I was watching something the other day about GameStop. GameStop, you remember when
Oh,
they
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I was obsessed with this. Okay, just so you know, I thought it was
Okay.
it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, well, let's see what the guys are doing out there today. And guys
Right.
being using gender neutral term from the state of Michigan. It's like it was really extraordinary to watch them
Yeah.
kind of mess things up a little bit for the globalists.
Yeah, no, that was really great. And it really did show how the system is rigged.
Yeah. And we the
I mean,
people
they
can get together and we can write this and really break their hold on us.
totally,
But we got to
totally.
get in
So
the game. So
yeah, exactly. So that's the hope. I mean, I think the way that they're creating the valuation of it is very similar to what they did with derivatives. It's like it's completely made up, but of course the derivatives are what caused the crash of 2008. So I mean, we don't want that again. But that's essentially what they're doing. They created a whole accounting system that's like a voodoo economics. I mean, it's like totally made up. Makes no sense at all. So
yeah, that seems to be the MO, is that there's no absolutes. It's just
yeah,
whatever you want to put numbers in, throw it, and then now you've got a new policy. So we're just going to write new policies, new bylaws, and make it all okay. And now you just got to believe us. That's
exactly.
what we do. Mhm.
Yeah,
So
that's the MO here. So yeah, so I don't know. That's what we're focused on this week because the deadline is Thursday. So
all right.
I'm
So
actually gonna get my comment in, so I'm in the game. But I've been swamped. So yeah.
well, thanks for coming on today. I really
No,
appreciate that.
of
And
course.
I know you've got like a really busy day today too. So
I've got
this is
I've got 4 shows today. I'm speaking tomorrow at the state capitol, so I've got to write the speech for that, and I'm tailoring it specifically to the agricultural committee, because there are many facets to this. I mean, it's essentially, I think that it's a way for them to starve us out, to, bring us to our knees, and to put us at the behest of the techno-fascist corporate takeover, because they're going to control and monopolize all the natural resources. I think it's part of the, like metaverse that they're trying to create, because now they're going to tell us we don't have any natural resources. And so, of course, then we're going to be subject to all of the synthetic resources that they create. They've created already, we have Bill Gates salt, we have the fake meat. They're going to like create, I mean, I'm just being a little facetious, but who knows? They might create fake air and tell us, you have to buy this and breathe this. I just saw a thing this morning where they're
well, they
talking
could
about,
if they polluted us, and then the only way you stayed alive is to buy to buy what their solution for the crisis they create.
or they regulate all the air and say you can't, it's a natural resource and it's under this knack and you can't breathe the air here. And if you saw that map last week and how little is for human use, so everywhere else you have to pay for the air you breathe because it's under this knack umbrella. So they can do that. They can oh yeah, I was saying that the thing I saw this morning, and I haven't had time to look into it, but it was like they're going to turn CO2 into food. I don't know how that's even possible, but
Okay.
I thought that's kind of what plants did, but apparently, what do I know?
Yeah.
So
It's just like with the glyphosates and such. Actually, soil is a living organism if you
it
look
is.
at it.
Yep.
And so glyphosates is more about killing that organism, killing the soil,
Totally.
and which strips the nutrients out of it than it is the weed control, really. That's a
Yeah.
mechanism.
No, I agree, and we already know that from the lawsuits, there's a direct correlation to cancer with glyphosate. That was the Monsanto lawsuit. So I actually interviewed the guy who wrote the book on that and who was very involved in that lawsuit. And yeah, from that we have direct evidence that causes cancer, and yet
Mhm.
they won, and that made it so that farmers couldn't buy Roundup, but that doesn't stop like the mass production use of Roundup.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think that this goes back to these people that are trying to force these agendas are just going to continue to help us realize that we have to be independent on our own, and get a group of friends together, figure out what you guys can do together, and raise your own food and put it away so that you don't have to buy the corporate or be reliant on the corporate their corporate food programs, because this is creating a lot of the problems that we have out there. You can do it yourself. You don't need their help. And I think, like I told you, it's like half an acre of garden, half acre garden, 36 chickens and 2 goats. You can feed 9 families.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was talking to my fiance about that. He's very into permaculture and he's a farmer, and he's like, I don't know about that. It's like, that's crazy. Yeah, it does sound crazy.
All you got to do is do things like not only companion planting, because that helps, one plant helps another. So like if you plant certain plants together, it'll keep the pests of other plants away from them.
Right.
So you plant them right next to each other, and then the old farmers always knew this. When I was a kid, we always planted marigolds in and around our gardens. Wow. Now, why would you do that? People would ask. It's like, because rabbits don't like marigolds. So you want to keep you want to keep the rabbits from chewing all your tasty, wonderful veggies. Peter Cottontail's going to stay away if you've got enough marigolds planted there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's another point. Do you want to bring up for people, because a lot of people have pushed back, particularly when I interviewed Margaret Byfield. She was talking about how they're advocating for only regenerative farming, and that sounds great. And I have a feeling it's kind of it's a cover, because a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, that's great. Well, that's better." Well, I don't think it's just words. I think what it is that in a ideal world would be great, but unfortunately, mass scale farmers cannot afford to do that. So yes, if you're building your own homestead or your own private farm or garden or whatever, that I advocate people individually doing that. But most large scale
commercial farming can't do that.
It would be way too expensive for them. That's got to be something that on the individual level that people take on, and they need to be able to have the means to afford to do that. It's right now, because of just the way our soil is, it's not really conducive for most people. So I just wanted to, and my bigger point with it is that it sounds great, like, oh, well, they're only advocating for regenerative farming and they won't allow you to do any other type of farming. That sounds lovely, but the reality is what they're going to do with this is they're going to say you can't farm at all. So it's kind of a moot point anyway. And the reason they're going to say you can't farm at all is because you can't produce anything on the land. There can be no production. So it's because it's like a carbon offset is how they're valuing it. That's how they're monetizing it, is as a carbon offset. So it has to get to, it's like a net zero kind of thing. They call it ecosystem management. And so it's about non-productivity. So any productivity, any products or crops that are yielded, go against what they're trying to achieve. So
well, and what's really crazy, it goes back to this idiocy on climate change, is they want to get rid of all that carbon. Greenhouses pump CO2 in to the greenhouses to
of course,
so
it's
like
a life molecule.
it's like they're insane.
It's
If
totally
you don't have higher CO2 in the air, the more crops are going to grow, the more lush it's going to be, the more oxygen that they produce. They're trying to kill off the system that God put in place.
That's exactly what they're trying to do.
It's a war against God. I'm going to just say it again. It's a war against God and his creation, because it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And
well, I would take it a step further. I mean, I think they're trying to play God. They think that they're the gods. That they can create their alternative metaverse reality, and somehow that's going to work out. I don't think so, but yeah.
I don't think you play chicken with God, because you're going to lose every single time.
Yeah.
Anything else is just a cheap alternative, a cheap imitation, and that doesn't work too well, especially when he's still in charge. What do you do? How are you going to do that? How are you going to get rid of the creator of the universe without, pretty well, first you can't. But second of all, as absurd as it is, he's going to let this nonsense go on for just so long. And then he's going to say, all right, everybody out of the pool.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think this is going to end well, but hopefully we can stop it before it becomes, a further cluster. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, but that's okay. We just keep talking about it. And I think that there's so many people that are critically thinking now. You can even see what happened with President Trump, the rightful president of the United States, last night, and how much support he has, no matter what the deep state has done. The truth is resonating with all of us in our hearts. You can't stop that. You can't stop that. Now the little snaky people out there that just are doing it for the money, they're in complete panic. Can you imagine the panic in DC right now after last night?
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to
that are running around.
They're plotting, I'm sure. So I hate to cut this short. I know I came on late. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I'm just thankful that you came on today. I'm sorry, but so I want to get this out there, and then hopefully this will at least push it back a little bit and slow them down. And let's
then
say a prayer. Let's
do that.
Let's say a prayer. We're going to pray for you and the your next few days going forward. And let's do that right now, and then we'll end the show right there, and then you get to your work. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very, very much for Courtenay and all that she's doing, and having the courage, the bravery, the mind, and the mouth to be able to stand firm against this evil that's coming towards us as a guardian of the galaxy. We'll just term her that right now, a true guardian of the galaxy. Thank you so very much. I ask that you give her every word that comes out of her mouth comes from you, that you give her presence of mind, that you give her steadiness, that you give her the ability to walk in there and own this thing, so that she can say what needs to be said, and that there is complete confidence, conviction and confidence that the people that are listening to what she has to say hear clearly what's coming out of her mouth, and that they act on it. We ask that you confuse any plans of the enemy to do harm to this nation and this world, and that you would give her your favor, and all who stand with her your favor. We ask that you move everybody out there to go ahead and go to this website and put their comments in it to defend this nation against tyrannical rule, against being overtaken by the criminal forces that are at work and working through corporations and fake entities. We know this is a fight against principalities and powers, and we know that you're victorious. There is no way that you're going to lose in any fight that comes up, but we thank you for giving us the ability to exercise our legs a little bit on this, that we can know how to stand against evil when it comes and we have to face it. Thank you so much for every single person out there. We love Courtenay. We love you. We love all of our brothers and sisters that stand for for your world. And thank you so very much for each and every one of them. You're a great friend to us, and we want to be a friend to you. We love you. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Oh, so beautiful. Thank you.
So there you go. May God's favor rest strong upon you, my friend. As
Thank you.
The forces of the enemies, and we'll all be praying for you. It's a beautiful thing. You're teaching us. You're teaching us by the examples in your life, and it's so beautiful. Thank you so very much. Just appreciate you so much. So God bless you and everything you do. We'll just stop there. Go to brandenburgforgovernor.com.
Yes.
The best non-conceder that's ever not conceded. And God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love.
How do I make the heart? For some reason, I think you won't do it today.
Like this.
There we
I
go.
was trying to make a little thing differently, but that's the way let's see. I think some people do it. I don't know. I do it this way. So
I guess
God bless you.
That too.
There you go. God bless you all.
You too.
God bless America. Have a great day. Make it
Thank
so.
you. You too. All right.
Be upon you, my friend.
Thank you. I'll keep you posted.
Thank
All
you.
right.
See you all tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.